Hello, Matt Smith here with the week 2 discussion. Um, Back in 2017, 2018, I took a job with a provisional internship permit at a high school as a resource specialist. During that year, conducted, and completed about 25 IEP meetings, most of those being annual meetings, a couple triennial meetings, and one initial meeting. Although I only did this for 1 year, the amount of knowledge that I gained requiring IEPs and 504s and the process and the SSTs and, all the parts that are involved in an IEP, it really has helped me out getting back into education from now taking on a role as a physical education teacher, a much different role than a special education teacher, but I now have a greater understanding of my role on the IEP team. And I understand my role in contributing to the IEP and making sure that each student is getting the services and the attention that the IEP or the 504 deserves, and what it asks for. I remember for the initial IEP, there was the Woodcock-Johnson test that I administered along with the triennials. There's the Woodcock-Johnson. There's sheets that are filled out from that student's all of their teachers that talk about that. There's grade checks. There's meeting with parents. There's the school psychologist involved. There's the occupational therapist involved. There's the counselors involved. There's, at the high school level especially, there's when a student is getting into special education services or they're having that triennial, there's 10 plus people, the parents, there's 10 plus people that are involved in this process, which makes it really unique and real cool that so many people are being involved in this process. I guess one I can speak on in particular was this young boy who was a freshman in high school, and he got into special ed his freshman year. I was his case manager. We did the initial process, and I remember that meeting. It was a very long and productive and good meeting. There was the student, there were his parents, there was the counselor, there was the school psychologist, there were a couple of his teachers, there was the occupational therapist, and we all got together, and I had a list of goals to go over, and we all went through, and we went through the goals together. We did all this, and it was a real cool experience to see how someone gets into special ed and how everyone comes together to develop this individual education plan for the student to succeed. And when it comes to 504s, I know the 504s accommodations. My experience with 504s is not as much as with IEPs because, that year my role was real, I taught resource math as well, but it was really a case manager. It was IEPs all day, every day. I was consumed with the IEPs. I ran that meetings. set the goals, administered the goals, changed the goals, tested with the Woodcock Johnson, put together the meetings, got all the moving parts in line, the counselors, the psychologists, all that. Very familiar, very aware with all that. But with the 504s, I'm starting to learn more now as an elementary physical education teacher about the 504 process and how the accommodations, maybe, allowed to use some notes on the test or allowed breaks in the day or a little extra time explaining something. Like as a PE teacher, you'll go through and I'll explain the lesson for the day, the activity. Here's the movements we're doing. Here's the fitness we're doing. And then when we break off and go, some students, I'll just run it through again. So, I look forward to continuing to learn about the IEP and the 504s. But having a year of running IEP meetings under my belt, I go into it with a good foundation, but definitely a lot to learn still. Always a lot to learn, especially in the world of education. So looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say and other people's experiences with them and what they mean to you and your school and your classroom and all that. So I think this is going to be a wonderful week. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing all your guys's and responding and getting these conversations going. Thank you guys.